Good morning, everybody. I'm Don Stewart, and welcome to another edition of Breaking News. Today is Thursday, the 30th day of October, 2025. And as we look at the headlines, the situation for Israel with respect to Hamas and Gaza continues to get worse. We're also going to look at a number of other subjects that are consistent with last day's Bible prophecy. So, what we're going to be doing every day now is summarizing the main stories out of Israel rather than going only with Israel and Gaza, because so many other events are happening right now. We want to get to those. So, we're going to be doing that today and from now on because we don't want to just beat the dead horse about how bad it is. But whenever there's a huge headline, we're going to deal with it. So just to let you know, we're going to hit Israel and Gaza and Hamas every day. But there's so many other things going on, we've got to hit those too. All right, so here's the first two stories have to do with Israel and Gaza, and they're not good. Trump blocks Israeli plan to expand control in Gaza following a ceasefire violation. This is from Israel National News. And let me tell you that people are so unhappy and disgusted with this. And then from Israel National News, just came across the wire a few hours ago. Rachel's tomb massacre thwarted after terrorist released in hostage deal is rearrested. In other words, one of the terrorists just released a few weeks ago, one of the 150 murderers, has now been rearrested because he had been planning a massacre at Rachel's tomb there in Israel, Hebron. So, um, yeah, again, are we surprised by this? No, we're not. We'll talk about this. And then we have three hugely important stories. Trump orders immediate U.S. nuclear weapons testing after Russia's missile launch. This is from N12 and JFEED. This has been hitting the headlines too. So we talked about this the other day when Putin did this new weapon, doomsday weapon that he released. He was there in fatigues, and they said they did some testing of this weapon, and there's no way to stop it, this and that. So Trump orders immediately nuclear weapons testing. It's the first time in years and years this has happened. Get to that. And then from CNN, Iran is rebuilding its ballistic missile manufacturing capabilities with the support of China. And speaking of China, we have a huge headline with a story of Xi Jinping and Trump just made an agreement in South Korea with respect to the U.S. and China trade agreement. We'll deal with this in our second edition of Breaking News. And piggybacking on a story yesterday, ICE and CPB agents are now scanning people's faces on the street to verify citizenship. Remember, we had the story yesterday. They're doing that in airports. Everybody coming and going is going to have facial recognition, looking at them, and the ones that are not American citizens will be in a database. Well, now they're taking this not only to the airports and the exits and the coming in of all passengers from overseas, but also the ICE agents are now on the streets and doing facial recognition to see if someone's legal or illegal. So we'll talk about that too. So much going on, and how it all works with last day's Bible prophecy is really incredible. Also, tomorrow is Halloween, and every year at this time we get so many questions on this subject. In our book, Evil Angels, Demons, and the Occult, we deal with the subject of Halloween. Question 35, what is the history of Halloween? Question 36, where did the popular traditions about Halloween come from? And question 37, what should Christians do in Halloween? Also, we've done a couple of videos on the subject. So under playlist, when you go on the website under the playlist, Evil Angels, Demons, and the Occult, you go to that one. Episodes 20 and 21 deal with the subject of Halloween. So episodes 20 and 21. Now we'll have this here listed on our summary. So if you didn't get it right now, you can read it and then go to the playlist and download or just look at these videos. Or if you haven't already downloaded the book, Evil Angels, Demons, the Occult, we deal with this. If you want to read it, print it out, share it with others, because we talk about Halloween. It always comes up this time of year. What should Christians do? Where the traditions come from? So we've already got that done for you. So please check that out. All right, let's look at the headlines. Headline number one, Trump blocks Israeli plan to expand control in Gaza following ceasefire violation, from Israel National News. Following a deadly ceasefire breach, Israel sought to seize additional territory in Gaza. Here comes the but U.S. President Trump vetoed the move. He vetoed the proposal to shift the yellow line in the Gaza Strip and expand the idea of control in response to a serious ceasefire violation by Hamas that resulted in the death of Master Sergeant Yonah Ephraim Feldbaum. In the aftermath of the incident, Israel had planned for the IDF to assume control of the targeted area contingent on American approval. However, Trump ultimately blocked the initiative. The decision raised eyebrows in Israel, particularly as it followed Trump's own remarks, which he appeared to support a strong Israeli response. He said, and we comment on this yesterday, they killed an Israeli soldier, so the Israelis hit back, and they should hit back. He told reporters on Tuesday night, adding if Hamas does not behave, they will be terminated. Meanwhile, Strategic Affairs Minister Dermer is expected to fly to Washington next week to meet with senior administration officials to discuss advancing the initiative of Israel moving the yellow line closer and closer and giving Hamas less territory. Now, let me tell you, the comments were brutal, and every single one basically said the same thing. Let me read just a couple of them. Clearly saw this coming. Trump now has veto power over Israel. Another commentator, the man is bought off by the Qataris in plain view. And then someone did a play on words in that and did the PLANE view, because remember, they gave him this $400 million plane. And then a third comment, essentially, Emperor Trump has placed Israel in receivership while allowing Mr. Security Netanyahu to pretend he runs the joint. And then finally, one more. Trump says he's Israel's best friend right before blocking Israel from defending itself. With friends like these, who needs Iran? These are the comments that were made after this story came out. All right, Trump's decisions that are causing problems for Israel are asking for trouble. Recall the U.S. is not a player in last days Bible prophecy. See our book, 25 Signs. We're near the end, sign number 11. Lest we forget the Lord's words to Abram, I will bless those that bless you and curse those that curse you, are still in effect. And again, 25 Signs, we're near the end, is on our website, Educating Our World, under the heading of Bible Prophecy. And sign number 11, we talk about the United States is not a player in last days Bible prophecy. Something's going to happen to it. And we go through the possibilities there. So that's the first headline. Now, if you think it couldn't get any worse, here comes number two. Rachel's tomb massacre thwarted after terrorists release in hostage deal is rearrested. Again, he was rearrested. Released in hostage deal is rearrested in Bethlehem on suspicion of planning massive terror attack to be carried out Saturday. Rachel's tomb is that area, Bethlehem, Hebron, etc., in that general area there in Israel. It's under Palestinian control, by the way, now too. Special forces from the Judea District, Border Police, Yassam units from Judea and Samaria, and Border Police canine units from Jerusalem on Wednesday night arrested a terrorist in Bethlehem, thwarting a terror attack planned for Saturday. The terrorist in question had been recently released as part of the hostage deal, which Israel released convicted killers in exchange for a mostly civilian group of hostages. Now the terrorist has been rearrested on suspicion of resuming the manufacture of explosive devices and planning to carry out a terror attack on Rachel's tomb on Saturday. The suspect was previously arrested after being found in possession of 25 explosive devices that were produced and supplied to terrorist elements and had faced serious charges for his actions. The arrest followed intelligence information that corroborated with additional security sources. The suspect's been transferred for interrogation to the Yehuda District Crime Fighting Unit. So one of the murderers, one of the terrorists who was just released from an Israeli prison in the latest hostage deal, has already gone back to terrorism. Like we said, when they released the 150 murderers and people who had planned terroristic activities, what could possibly go wrong? Well, here we go. And this is not the last time this is going to happen. It's just the first of many. And this is the worry, and this is the sad situation Israel has been put in, because for getting the 20 hostages back, they had to release 150 terrorists who were murderers or people like this person who had planned terroristic attacks. And sadly, we're going to see more and more of this because these people are free now. All right. Headline number three, we're going to shift gears now, get out of Israel and go into other issues. Trump orders immediate U.S. nuclear weapons testing after a Russia missile launch. This is from N12 or JFEED. President cites Russia's new missile test and China's rapid buildup as justification for resuming underground detonations. He announced last night, Wednesday night, that he had ordered the United States to resume nuclear weapons testing immediately, citing Russia's recent missile launches and China's expanding nuclear capabilities as the reasons behind his decision. In a post on Truth Social, Trump wrote, "The United States has more nuclear weapons than any other country. This was accomplished including a complete update and renovation of existing weapons during my first term in office." He concluded, "Because of the tremendous destructive power, I hated, all in uppercase letters, to do it, but had no choice. Russia is second and China is a distant third, but it will be even within 5 years of the United States and Russia." Because of other countries' testing programs, I have instructed the Department of War to start testing our nuclear weapons on an equal basis. This process will begin immediately. Now, the announcement followed Russia's recent test of a nuclear powered cruise missile that, according to Moscow, flew 8,700 miles. During a 15-hour trial, Russian President Putin hailed the missile's success, claiming it could evade modern defense systems. Earlier this week, Trump rebuked Putin's show of force, saying the Russian leader should focus on ending the war in Ukraine rather than on testing missiles. Speaking to reporters aboard Air Force One, the president warned that the United States is prepared to respond to any escalation. He said, "We did this the other day. I know we have a nuclear submarine, the greatest in the world, right off their shores. So, I mean, it doesn't have to go 8,000 miles. And they're not playing games with it. We're not playing games with them either." When asked about Russia's long-range missile tests, Trump added, "We test missiles all the time. But again, we have the nuclear submarine." Again, he emphasized that. Trump hinted also at the possibility of new sanctions on Moscow, telling reporters, "You'll find out." And the president's order marks a dramatic shift. And here's the key takeaway: a dramatic shift in U.S. nuclear policy, which has largely observed a moratorium on explosive testing since 1992. There hasn't been testing since 1992 on nuclear weapons, and now it's back in force again. Defense officials have not released details on when and where the first test will take place, but the Department of War is reportedly preparing to implement the directive immediately. All right, so again, the fact that Russia is a major power and remaining in the headlines is consistent with what we know about end times Bible prophecy. As we know from Ezekiel 38:39, they're going to lead a coalition that attacks Israel in the last days. In other words, they have to be a powerhouse. We emphasize this, a powerhouse, to have nations like Iran and Turkey behind them. So for details, see our book 25 Signs. We're near the end, signs 9 through 11, as well as our more comprehensive book, the Ezekiel 38:39 Invasion. Both are free downloads from our website, Educating Our World, under the heading of Bible Prophecy. So this is exactly consistent with what we expect to see, Russia being a huge power at the end times. And as we mentioned, the United States losing power, and the United States not being a player in the Middle East. And like we warned, you don't mess with Israel, because God said, "I'm going to curse those that curse." And if we start putting Israel in a box, believe me, the United States will pay the price. Now we move to another international story from CNN. This is about Iran. Iran is rebuilding ballistic missiles manufacturing capabilities with the support of China, whom Trump just made the deal with. Iran has purchased 2,000 tons of sodium perchlorate since the 12-day war, enough to produce fuel for over 500 ballistic missiles with nuclear capabilities. Iran is rebuilding its ballistic missile manufacturing capabilities with aid from China, despite the guidance of United Nations sanctions, CNN reported yesterday. In late September, the UN reimposed the snapback sanctions on Iran. We talked about that, aiming to halt and prevent any more advancement of nuclear weapons. CNN, citing European intelligence sources, reported that in late October, Iran received shipments containing over 2,000 tons of the sodium perchlorate, the so-called dual-use material that can be used for innocent purposes or as a key ingredient in the production of ammonium perchlorate. And ammonium perchlorate is an oxidizer used in a solid fuel propellant to build Iranian ballistic missiles. Guess what they're going to use it for? That's right, to build more ballistic missiles. While the sanctions list a number of materials banned from being sent to Iran, sodium perchlorate, for some reason, is not listed. CNN reported the experts on the topic said the failure to ban sodium perchlorate may create plausible deniability for Chinese suppliers who sell the chemical. A spokesman for China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs told CNN that the ministry was not familiar with the specific situation, asserting that China consistently implements export controls on dual-use items in accordance with international obligations and domestic laws and regulations. Oh, hey, this can be used for other peaceful purposes. We don't know what they're going to use it for. And the article goes on to say it is suspected that Iran is attempting to replenish what was destroyed and expended during the 12-day war in July. Well, it's more than suspected. We know that's exactly what they're going to do. Now, remember, here's the thing we have to keep in mind. During the war, Iran launched hundreds of ballistic missiles towards Israel, depleting much of what weapons stores they had left following previous Israeli strikes, which had targeted storage facilities, and missile launch sites. In retaliation, what did Israel do? It destroyed the majority of Iranian nuclear facilities and weapon stores with the help of the American military. However, Israel has already begun rebuilding its missile manufacturing capabilities, and China, in collaboration with Russia, attempt to block the reinstatement of UN sanctions against Iran in September. Let's not forget that. So, the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs spokesperson reaffirmed the Iranian-Chinese alliance to CNN, stating China is committed to peacefully resolving the Iranian nuclear issue through political and diplomatic means and opposes sanctions and pressure. Now, they'll just sell this ingredient here that'll help them build these ballistic missiles. All right. Representatives of Iran, Russia, and China penned a joint letter accusing the sanctions of being legally and procedurally flawed, according to Reuters. All right, here's the takeaway. Iran remains a mortal enemy of Israel, as the Bible assumes it would be in the last days. And notice Russia again is siding with Iran because they will be working together in this last days invasion of Israel. And China is also mentioned in this, but China is not a player in last days Bible prophecies. We've mentioned repeatedly over and over again, and we deal with this in our book, 50 Common Mistakes About Last Days Bible Prophecy Cleared Up, another book under the heading of Bible prophecy, where we deal with the misconception that China is somehow listed in Scripture, the kings of the East, the 200 million man army. It's not referring to modern day China. We deal with that in the book. All right, now another story we dealt with the other day, and we got to piggyback on this, and this also has repercussions and basically uh, fulfill predictions what the Scripture made about last days Bible prophecy. ICE and CPB agents are scanning people's faces on the street now to verify citizenship. Remember, we did this story yesterday. They're scanning every face coming in and going from the United States, and they're taking those people who are not American citizens and putting them in a database. They've got all their information there. They've got their facial recognition there. Well, now ICE is doing this on the streets to verify citizenship. You got no idea, border agent in baseball cap, sunglasses, and next gator added a kid on a bike. The officer and three others had just stopped two young men on their bikes during the day in what a video documenting the incident says is Chicago. One of the boys was filming the encounter on his phone. He says in the video he was born here, meaning he would be an American citizen. When the boy says he doesn't have an ID, now get this, the border officer has an alternative. He calls over to one of his other officers, can you do facial? The second officer then approaches the boy, gets him to turn around to face the sun, and points his own phone camera directly at him, hovering over the boy's face for a couple of seconds. The officer looks at his phone screen and asks the boy to verify his name. The video stops. In another video of a different incident, this time filmed the perspective of a driver that authorities have apparently stopped in Chicago, a group of ICE officers surround the driver's side window. One of the officers wearing a vest that says ICE, the Immigration Customs Enforcement, removal operations. These also called enforcement removal operations. Tells one of his coworkers the driver is refusing to be ID'd. So what happens? The second ICE official then points his own phone camera at the driver, and he says, I'm an American citizen, so leave me alone. He says, all right, we just got to verify that, the officer says, with some of the groups peering at the phone. The officer with the phone points the camera at the driver again, asks him to remove his hat. If you could take off your hat, please, it'd be a lot quicker. I'm going to run your information. Now, these videos and others reviewed by 404 Media show that ICE and Customs and Border Protection, CPB, are actively using smartphone facial recognition technology in the field, including in stops to seem that have little justification beyond the color of someone's skin, to look up at more information on that person, including their identity and potentially their immigration status. It's not clear which specific app the officers in the video are using. 404 Media previously revealed ICE has a new app called Mobile Fortify, which scans someone's face and is built on a database of 200 million images. The app queries an unprecedented number of government databases to return the subject's name, date of birth, alien number, and whether they've been given an order for deportation. Now, these videos are evidence that the more high-tech ambitions of the Trump administration's mass deportation campaign are now a reality. While many ICE operations have been distinctly low-tech, such as simply targeting brown people at a Home Depot parking lot, it is now clear that ICE's investment in facial recognition technology is an option for officers who are pulling people over, targeting them. From these videos, it seems like ISIS started using live face recognition in the field. Allison McDonald, assistant professor of computing and data science at Boston University, told 404 Media in an email. McDonald previously worked on a Georgetown Law Center on privacy and technology report into ICE data-driven deportation strategy. All right, here's why this is important. It piggybacks on the one we did yesterday. However, non-citizen, remember, every non-citizen flying in and out of the United States will have their picture put in a database with facial recognition. They're going to basically put everybody's picture, take a picture of everybody coming and going, and then those who are American citizens, theoretically, within 12 hours are going to be deleted, but the non-citizens will be kept in this database. Facial recognition, here's the key, will be the norm everywhere, citizen and non-citizen. Again, see our book, 25 Signs. We're near the end. Sign number 15, the exponential increase of technology. Specifically, nobody will be able eventually to buy or sell without the mark of the beast of the coming final Antichrist. Now, this is put in play by his cohort, the false prophet. And how do you do that? Well, real easily. You have to have the face and the details of every citizen in the world in some type of database. And guess what? We're doing it here right now in the United States, as is other countries. And so this fits perfectly with what the world's going to look like at the time when this final Antichrist shows up. So not only do we have this in sign 15 in our book, 25 Signs, we're near the end. We have a comprehensive book called The Final Antichrist, The Coming Caesar. Both are free downloads from our website, Educating Our World, under the heading of Bible Prophecy. So please take advantage of them. So see, so much going on, so many things, so many stories. Like I said today, I could have done a dozen stories. We have a second edition of Breaking News later with some extremely important stories, more on what's going on in Gaza, like its push is coming to shove now, and also things with China, stories literally from around the world, and so many different subjects that are fulfilling precisely what the Bible says our world's going to be like in the last days. Again, always amazed, never surprised. I'm Don Stewart. We'll see you later on the second edition of Breaking News. Until then, as always, may the Lord richly, richly bless.